Welcome to the Blue Oasis podcast. This is the podcast for finding peace and prosperity, learning the history of hobbies, as well as developing a little side hustle. If you want to find peace and prosperity in your life, this is your show. Get ready. You're listening to the Blue Oasis podcast. I am your host, Adam Rothstein. All right, let's get to the show. Okay, and welcome back to the Blue Oasis podcast. With me today is Steve Puri. Steve, how you doing?
I am pretty well. How are you?
You're doing great. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I know what you and I were talking about before this is I've had an experience both being an executive and a producer in film and in tech. And in doing that, learned a lot about like kind of remote work and work-life balance, and in some ways had a nomadic lifestyle for a few years. And I wanted to share, some of the silly stories and some of the lessons I learned along the way.
Right on. Yeah, remote work is getting very big, as well. So you have worked for DreamWorks, correct?
DreamWorks and Fox and Sony, and I was an assistant at Paramount when I came up.
Nice. So DreamWorks, is that dating back to 20 plus years? Is that towards the Shrek era, or when did you begin?
Oh, I think you're thinking of DreamWorks Animation. I was in DreamWorks live action, so more like the Transformers era and Eagle Eye and stuff like that.
Yeah. I love Transformers, and I love that new animated one called Transformers 1 too. Love
Yes.
that one.
I went from DreamWorks to Fox around 2010, 2011, I think it was.
So tell me a little bit more about that transition to Fox as well.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because DreamWorks is my favorite job in film. And it was cool because it was a studio, and I can't speak now for it. It's, years later. I'm sure it's still a great place to work, but it was cool in that there are some places that are very much like, hey, can you make this movie a little bit cheaper? Go home, think about it tonight, sort of thing. Or there are places that are like, can you go home and make it a little better? And DreamWorks is one of those, like, everyone wanted to make it 1% better. And let's admit, not every movie gets there, right? Not every movie is a brilliant movie, but just that sort of impetus from the top at the time of Stacey Snider and Steven Spielberg were kind of running the place. That was a really nice ethos, right? And Fox had approached me because they had done, Avatar stuff, and they had a lot of money, and they said, hey, listen, we would love to do some, classier films. We have money to spend, so we can work with top writers and directors now. And, the chairman of Fox would laugh, but he was the guy who made like Alien versus Predator, which is, there's not a lot of nobility in that one. And it was an interesting thing where they had approached me and they said, listen, you probably grew up watching Die Hard and Wolverine and stuff like that. And it's true. And they're like, you could be the executive running like a couple of those franchises, including those two. And we'll double your salary. And I was like, well, how bad could it be? And I'll tell you, a couple of years into it, it was a really big mismatch between my taste and sort of ethos and Fox. And I had a moment when I had a draft in on a script. There's a big original, like epic, right? And I thought it was fantastic. I was excited for my boss, the chairman of Fox, to read it, because it's a big swing for the fences movie. It's not like a $20 million little drama. I mean, it's like a $150, $200 million movie, right? So he just, several weeks in a row, didn't read it, but was obsessed with Die Hard 5, which was, a mediocre script, to be polite. And it's what he wanted to make. And I had a moment that was just, I'm going to wake up, be 40, 50 years old, making Die Hard 11 and tell my kids, daddy's got to go to work, make Die Hard 11 to pay for your college, whatever. So that was how I got out of film. And I got back into tech. I wanted to do something where I could actually like have more control over what is the thing I'm doing and is it meaningful?
So even though you're still part of a large conglomerate, you still, having that control is what helps produce, the good movies. And no,
You said, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this: as many bad movies as there are, very few people set out to make a bad movie. Most people think they're making a good movie. Every now and then there's an exception, but it's not like they set out. It's just really hard for all the pieces to come together. You know?
yeah, absolutely. And no one was necessarily breathing down your neck, or not as much when you had more control.
When I left, I got back into tech, which is where I had started. I started as a software engineer. I worked at IBM, and then I happened to get into film because film went digital, and I understood the engineering part. I also understood like the producing part. So that turned into, oh, hey, start working in film. So when I got out of Fox, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try my hand. I'm going to go start a tech company, go raise some money, raise like 3 million bucks, did a company. And that was my second company. My second company and my third company failed. My first company I sold, and that was awesome, super fun, made it seem easy. And second and third, woof, hard.
Yeah. And this is now the Suka company that you're with.
Yep. So I started Suko, which was largely the problems that I experienced and my friends experienced that were like working nomadically, working remote or hybrid. Um, I did a lot of reading on how do you solve these things because a lot of smart people have encountered them and come up with ideas. And I thought, how could you put these together and have a community around it? So I took some common problems. Like it sounds obvious, sounds stupid, but in the morning, there's an overwhelm problem. Sometimes you look at your task list, you're like, I don't even know where to start, or nothing on here is like achievable. It's also hard. And there are ways to get over that. And that's basically what we did.
Course, of course. You got to get questions up. So, I did want to move into remote work. I did want to ask you about
Yeah.
that. So you're working fully remote now, correct?
Yes. These last 3 companies that I've run, all fully remote.
And you employ people who are also fully remote, or do they go to an office?
Nope. We've not had a physical office for these last 3 companies.
I think that's amazing because I think we are now in the era of, we went through that Kyogre virus for a while, and we were, you know, locked down, and but we still got a lot of work done. We were like
Yeah.
with it, and we learned about Zoom and everything. And I do
Yes.
think that companies should start doing it. And I mean, sell off that building at this point. And also you're not commuting to work. The trains will run on time, assuming you have a model train set and you can just start up and play with it. So don't worry, the trains will run just fine. But above all, brush your teeth, get ready, make coffee. You're on the computer and you can check emails and you can cook breakfast and keep the laptop on either the island or the other side of the
Yeah.
kitchen table. And and I think that's perfect. I think people are stressing too much about work, and it's like, oh no, you have to come into the office. You're 50 miles away. Sorry, you're driving in traffic from Baltimore to DC or
Yeah.
wherever. But and that's very stressful too, as a kid growing
It,
up in the DMV area.
yeah. 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 It is very true what you said because the advantages that really drew me to this were number one, global talent pool. Everyone talks about it. It's like, hey, I don't have to hire people to live driving distance from this building. It's like there's an amazing designer in Montreal who totally has our vibe. Let's work with him. Oh, there's this great engineer in Madrid. Let's work with her. That was amazing. The no commute time,
Yeah.
right? The flexibility and just treating people like adults. But I will say this is some of the people that I talk to, because there's a large community in Suka, some of the people I talk to that have had problems with teams that are remote, they're often hiring problems. It's like, did you hire the right person? Because not everyone can be responsible and accountable and be an adult about it. And if that's the problem, that's not solved through a tool. That's solved through, hey, let me help you find another job that's better for you.
Course, of course. I think now, I mean, there's always going to be technical issues with people, and
Hmm?
and software. But I mean, if you can actually do your work and get it done in an efficient manner, then that is what's going to make people much more happier to actually, pursue a career that they want rather
Mhm.
than rather than just go to the office and just, essentially have an office space moment like the Ron Livingstons of the world.
Hey, I did my TPS reports, okay? So don't bug me.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. My bad, my bad.
um,
Uh,
let me say this, and it's not about your red stapler, which I don't have, by the way. So the reason I named I'm going to tell you why I named my company when I named it, because it touches upon what you just said, which is we had launched this, we had a small, like user base, blah, blah, right? And I got married. This is 2 summers ago. So while I was on my honeymoon, I was talking to Laura. I was like, this is one of the rare moments in running a small business when no one's going to call me. Everyone's like, Steven's out. He's on his honeymoon. Don't email him. Don't call him. Don't do anything. So it was super quiet, so rare. And I said, I'd really like to spend some time. Like Laura and I met in yoga. So we have a daily yoga practice. That kind of like spiritual, energetic kind of physicality is really a part of our daily life, which I love. So we're there in Bali, right? Beautiful location, the whole thing, going to yoga barn, blah, blah. And I was like, I know this sounds crazy, Laura. Would you be cool if I did this? I wanted to seed my unconscious by talking to some of our really power members about what they see and what we do. And maybe that'll help me think of a name, because I'm inside the bubble. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing because I can't see myself, but they're outside. So she's like, awesome, man, talk to. So I spoke to a couple. This one guy said to me something so much better than anything that I thought, right? So I asked him a couple of stupid questions. What do you like about this? No, no, no. Well, do you like the music? Because we offer like over 1,000 hours of flow music, right? All best practices, 60 to 90 beats per minute, certain key signatures, non-vocal. Do you like the smart assistant that like helps you break down your tasks and organize stuff and gets the stuff to you? Do you like, the timers? And at the end of like 5-10 minutes, he was like, had to answer my questions, but there wasn't like this resounding, oh, I got it. So we're about to hang up. And he said, I think the question that you should have asked me is this: why do I pay you? And I was like, okay, I don't know how I would have phrased it that boldly, but if you're putting that on the table, I'd love to know the answer. And he said, at 3 o'clock, I can be playing with my kids. Or at 6 o'clock, I can be like, where the fuck did the day go? He said, the difference is, did I open your app in the morning? He said, that's what I pay you for. Those 3 hours, I get to be with my family as my kids are young. And I was like, oh man. So I told Laura this, of course, over dinner. I was like, I had this one great Zoom today. This guy said this thing. I was just like, oh man. So we were going home, we shower, we go to bed. And Laura looked at me. She goes, that feeling, I think that's actually what you're trying to do. Like, you're not trying to make like Focus App 14 or, like Study Mate 12 or some stupid thing. There are tons of them out there and you find them and they're all, fine. She said, I think ultimately what it is that your soul is trying to express is productivity. All these tools are just the path. And the goal is happiness. The goal is, I feel like I'm doing something meaningful. I'm doing it well. I'm good at this. And she's like, that's sukha. We go to yoga all the time. Like we talk about prana and sukha and satya. She's like, that is that feeling of self-fulfilled happiness. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to name the company the Happiness Company, the Sukha Company. And that's what I believe you can do, because work should not be where you do it. Work is what you do. And I want you to be able to work and have that feeling of like, oh man, I'm meant to do this. Like I feel fulfilled. I'm good at it.
okay, so just to clarify, this sukha means happiness
Sanskrit.
in Sanskrit.
Yeah, it scans. There's a lot of Sanskrit in yoga, and
Oh,
it's one of the concepts you talk about in yoga is this feeling of it's like a self-fulfillment or a happiness. It's not the happiness of like, oh man, I had the best hot fudge sundae. It's not like that happiness. It's more the happiness like you're in your lane, doing the thing you're meant to do, and you're really good at it. And it just feels great.
I can tell you about this. I mean, I have a YouTube channel of about 750 subscribers, and even though that's not much, it's more than most
Huh?
people will ever get to. But I
Yep.
like teaching people how to do, narrate audiobooks and everything and just be that voice. And I've worked on this voice for years to come because I wanted to produce, I wanted people to hear my voice and I wanted to teach people how to make this little extra income.
Yeah.
And I am in my lane managing Audacity, even OSIN audio too, like and learning all this stuff
Hmm?
is just my thing and just teaching people and just being that instructor. I mean,
Doesn't it feel great?
it feels it feels terrific. And when I was first starting out, I didn't know what RMS levels were, didn't know about the peak values, didn't know what a noise floor was or anything of the sort, or how to normalize anything, or
Hmm?
just everything, but piecing it together, going through those YouTube tutorials, and then learning those new tricks with each update of Audacity. Just, I'm glad I got to teach people. I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm teaching people now with this
And
because,
you just had a book that came out today, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. An audiobook on MLB stadiums that's available on Spotify. It's not available on Audible yet, but I'll get there too. And even managing that side of everything, that's actually a good point. The ebook, just putting it together and and also just the physical book as well, which you can do either or, and then through Findaway Voices get the serial number and then attach it and or get the link to the ebook and in 2 3 weeks it's on Audible too, from
Yep.
Amazon too, and I like that aspect. Because you don't have to physically put this on a disc as well. Um, and even though things are becoming digitized and going up to the cloud and getting deleted off Netflix, like The Office, um, it's still great that people can distribute this to millions of people of the world. And that's why I like doing this too. And that brings me to another point.
Ooh. Okay, you go.
Have you noticed this era of going digital and not having the physical DVDs or the physical Blu-rays or even the old VHSs? Do you see that as kind of like we're kind of going backwards because Netflix and Hulu can delete movies, and even Spotify could delete
Yeah,
songs
songs they lose the license to, and suddenly you don't have it anymore. Yeah.
and as well, and but physically owning the CD or even the record set, whatever, um, that no one can, unless someone comes into your house and robs you, are you going to lose your CD? And there's something about physically holding it. That's why we had special editions and ultimate editions,
Yes.
and even with video games too, as well. So I want to know, do you think we should value physical media again?
I'm going to rephrase what you're asking this way, which is I agree with you about I have physical ownership of a thing, right? And that thing may have been a CD that had music that represented sound, right? And now we are like, oh, everything's in the cloud. It's just always available everywhere I go. I can be in the car and I just plug in my Spotify, I go wherever I can watch my Netflix. I'm in a hotel room, right? So you are right that the first wave of that was just convenience. It's like, oh, I don't need to take 1,000 CDs. I have 1,000 songs in my pocket. Okay, great, right? And we moved like from iTunes to the cloud, you know? Because I remember taking my CDs and ripping them, putting them in iTunes, and I had all my music, right? Now on Spotify, I've lost most of the indie bands and the smaller bands from LA and New York that I loved because they don't have license deals that Spotify pays for. So I agree with you to have the experience even more than the physical thing. That's really important. I think people are now understanding that the cloud is ephemeral, in many ways, no pun intended. Um, and you can't count on it always being there. So the experiences you may want to have, if I want to hear that song, it may be represented by a CD or a VHS or a cassette tape or a DVD or whatever, right? But ultimately, what you want is like, oh my God, you know what, Adam? There's this awesome song by this group, and I want to play it for you. But man, the only way I can do it is if I give you the CD, you know?
Absolutely. So now, whenever I have an audiobook come out, it's like I just text my friends, "Hey, here it is. Go to Spotify," because many of them
Mm-hmm.
have Spotify Premium too. I am very interested about getting at least one audiobook on a CD. And I'm not even sure people have CD players anymore. Like
I, I
I've
don't know
got
anyone that does.
I've got
Yeah.
one computer in the closet that is that had a DVD drive,
Yep.
and but it's not working anymore. It's giving me the black screen of death, and I can't do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
But but I but it the I did notice one thing at my local library is that they still have physical DVDs like that
Yeah.
you can rent, and all you have to do is just show your library card, check it out, and go home, watch it.
Which is a cool service. Yeah.
It's like it's like I mean, if you were ever feeling broke, go do that too.
There you go.
Um, now you never did work on uh any animation projects. I did want to at all. Did you?
Well,
Nothing?
I'll tell you, I helped set up, there was a 3D CG animated series called Transformers Prime that actually won
Oh,
an Emmy.
yeah.
And that was pretty cool. I was involved in getting that sort of crew pulled together and getting that thing going. But other than that, no, most of the projects I did were like photoreal live action kind of projects, not a lot of animation. Why do you ask?
Um, well, now that you piqued my interest on Transformers Prime.
Mhm.
I loved that back when I was like a teenager and just seeing it. I loved the concept of Optimus Prime and Megatron being essentially brothers before, the Cybertronian Civil War began. And and then thus, it takes us back to, their origins of them being sworn enemies too, as
Yeah.
well. So it added a new element to. I loved the voice acting in in the show, and it really did match to everything it came through. Yeah, of what was going on, like even what was going on at the time too. You know, NSA spying, everything of the
Yep.
sort. And there was like a three-part episode where Optimus
Yep.
Prime loses his memory. He becomes Orion Pax again, and he calls Megatron Megatronus and everything, and he's just blinded by his brother, and he just implicitly trusts him. And then at the end of it, before he becomes Optimus Prime again, he realizes that, that even from the very people that we are supposed to trust, they can deceive you and they can lead you down a dark path, but it's still your responsibility to rise above all of it and do the right
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah. Something I think you're picking up on, but you're not articulating is some of these movies that may be expansive in their budgets, big sci-fi epics, action. If you strip the good ones down to just the character story, you get rid of the photon torpedoes, you get rid of the nuclear bomb with the red LED counter, you get all this stuff, right? You usually end up with a story of a family. So you can see that at play in the Transformers universe, which Alex Kurtz and Bob Orsi, whom I worked with, developed. Bob, by the way, just died recently, which is really sad because he's an amazing, amazing, really nice human. And Bob was definitely the one who brought a lot of the current, um, the topical problems into those worlds. Like, how do we solve this thing around spying? What's happening here? So if you think about, for example, like Star Trek 11, we worked on, right? The reboot with Kirk, Chris and Zach as Kirk and Spock. If you look at Star Trek 11, it's Cain and Abel. That is what the story is. It's dressed up with, Klingons and photon torpedoes and starships, but it is ultimately Cain and Abel are going to kill each other. And you'll notice they lose the movie until they have it out and they decide to be good. And once they are good brothers, then they win the movie. The whole movie pivots on their relationship. And it's simply a storytelling of what if Cain and Abel didn't end up killing each other, one killing the other. And I think it's true of a lot of those big movies. You boil them down, they have very relatable character stories. Mission Impossible 3 and Taken and Die Hard, stories of divorce, man. True Lies, story of divorce. Like, it's just funny about that.
What was your favorite project that you got to work out on, whether it was at DreamWorks or Fox, or
probably in terms of quality, probably Braveheart.
or
Yeah, I remember we did the visual effects and the titles for that. And I remember that script came in and it was thick. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Every night you go home with a bunch of scripts, you sort through them. Most scripts are awful, let's be honest. They're just like, ugh. And I started that script before I went to sleep. It had to be like 11 o'clock. I couldn't go to sleep until I finished it. And it was like 2 a.m. when I made it to the end of, like, I don't know, it was 180 pages. It was like an epic on the page. And it was just that good where I was like, I can't not read. I didn't know who William Wallace was at the time. I didn't know Robert the Bruce. I didn't know anything. And it's this whole thing was fresh. And I was like, this is actually historical. Like, wow. How did I not know this story? And I think it turned out really well. And John Tall won the Academy Award for cinematography. And we felt very proud because we had contributed a lot of, those epic battles in that period. There weren't actually all those people there. There were houses and all sorts of things and matte paintings to make that work. And we thought we did it well enough that, the Academy gave him the cinematographer's award.
absolutely. Yeah. I think that when you just have a good story and you actually have a good framework on anything, you're gonna succeed because you have, the foundation ready to go. And then once you have the team, I mean, you're unstoppable at that point.
You certainly hope so. I will tell you this. I was involved in a number of bad movies, and we didn't go into the bad movies thinking we're going to a bad movie. Sometimes it's just hard.
Yeah. And sometimes there's good movies that do just flop as well. I
Yeah.
can't even think of one right now that I'm trying to think of a good movie that just could not do well. Oh, Idiocracy actually was a good film, but
Yeah.
it just didn't work in theaters. And I'm like where was Fox promoting this? Were you
Yes.
involved in that
No, that was
project or
before.
anything?
I will tell you. I know what you're talking about. That was before I was at Fox. And it was one of the movies that once you're at Fox, people talked about going like, when you work here, people will bring up Idiocracy. Oh, you work at Fox? Oh, I love Idiocracy. Yet it made no money. It made no money, right?
And we looked at this now thinking it's like, oh my God, this is becoming too real. We can't go down this path. We have to stop this.
Yeah.
We have to stop ourselves from going down this path. And I mean, in 2006, even though it was based in 2005 and got delayed a year, you know, Fox could have really promoted this, and this really could have been something special at the time too. And I really hope we do not wind up in a true idiocracy as well. But at times I do see it, but
Oh, yeah.
and at other times, I look and see, so much knowledge and so much potential and things getting done in terms of medical research and everything of the sort. And
Mhm.
and and new inventions every day too. So I mean, you know, everyone's humanity has its up points and its down points.
Mhm. This is
So
true. Let us celebrate the up points and work on the down ones because we all contribute.
okay, and we
Even
should
inaction is an action.
yeah, and we should all contribute in positive ways, and that's what this show is about. Um, wow, that I mean, that's a good place to end it, but I kind of don't want to end it too. Anything else you want to discuss?
You know what? I will tell you this. I was attracted to the offer to be on here because I thought you were really sharing positive things with the world. I see this is the tool that you chose to help people towards how you live more balanced life, flexible, understand the work life balance, and sometimes you help people lead them toward you help lead people towards how can I realize more money in my work life? How can I find different things to do? And that's a cool positive contribution. And I just want to support that. I was actually talking to someone about voting. And what we were talking about was, voting is not what you do every couple of years in November. Voting is what you do every day, 100 times. It's how you treat other people. It's where you put your energy. You vote for the kind of world you want to live in. It's not just electing one guy or girl every X number of months or years. And I just think it's cool. This is where you're putting your energy.
Absolutely. And it's a culture, like, and you vote on a cultural basis, you vote on your respect to people,
Yep.
and you vote for, I don't know, which, if you want to go to a hockey game or a baseball game, you vote with your dollars there, and you build a culture around that. And but you can also build a community too, through hockey and through podcasting, and I was part of a big 9 feet, and I was part of a network that helped people, but I'm out of it now because I didn't want to pay, whatever the fee was
Mm-hmm.
for it. But and I'm still in touch with my friends, and that's still a choice, and I'm still going to events and just getting out there too. And that is a choice that everyone can make, and just to be positive in this world. And I mean, if you are in America, if you're in a first world, you know you absolutely can do it, and I hope you do shape the world and help the world be a better place, especially in
Yep.
these dark times.
Totally agreed.
Oh man, that'll okay, now that is a place to end it though.
There we go. And thank
Oh,
you for
all
having
right.
me.
Okay, so anything you want to promote here at all? Any links, anything you've worked on?
Well, I'll just mention this. Anybody who's looking for a focused community with they're working remotely and they want to have all the focus tools available with a fun group of people, try the Suka. It's THESUKHA.co, the Suka company, free trial. Um, that's the thing I'm really focused on right now. I built that tool and we offer it to people.
Oh, and you can put the link in the chat, by the way, for that. And if you want to support this podcast, definitely check out all the audiobooks. The latest one is
Yep.
on audio, just came in on Google Play, called an audiobook on MLB stadiums. So I don't cover every MLB stadium. I didn't even bother covering uh, the Seattle Pilots stadium. Didn't even bother with that one. I talk about Oakland, Montreal. I didn't go into Buffalo or Louisville or anything like in the 1800s. Didn't cover that. But you'll find Wrigley, you'll find Fenway, um,
All the
you'll
big
find
ones.
Yari Park, you'll find Olympic Stadium, you'll even find Exhibition Stadium too, as well. And I'm a Maryland guy, so obviously I had to put Baltimore in there, and I really worked hard on that section. So definitely check it out. 11.99 on Spotify, but if you have the premium, you can listen to it, and I still get paid from that as well. So definitely check out all the links in the show notes as well. And check out Steve's uh, link, obviously, the suka.co. Okay. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the Blue Oasis podcast. I'm Adam Rothstein. Anything else, Steve, or you good?
Yeah, I'm Steven Puri. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening if you're still here.
You're welcome. Peace, everyone. Take care.